Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Amy Valentine on the line, and she is CEO of Future of School. Amy, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here, Adam. Thanks for having me.
All right, Amy. So I'm excited to get into Future of School and really how you're helping the community out there and what you're doing, and also to get into that campaign. So the No More I Hate School campaign. So great work you're doing there. But just to get this show kicked off, we'll start out the way we start them all with our Mission Matters Minute. So, Amy, we at Mission Matters amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. Amy, what mission matters to you?
What mission matters to me is that every single student in the country and in the world has access to a high quality education where they can
Mm.
learn, grow, and flourish. That's really what we're all about.
Fantastic. Love bringing mission-based entrepreneurs and executives and experts on the line to share what gets them going in the morning, like what fires them up, like why do they go out there in the world and make a difference, which you're obviously doing. Let's start. So we'll go into the campaign and, of course, Future of School. But before we do, I mean, like, how did you get started on this path to starting this nonprofit?
I have been in ed tech for a long time. I was one of the first online teachers that was hired a long, long, long time ago.
Yeah.
I loved teaching using technology. It
Mm.
reaches kids in a different kind of way. It reaches them in a way that meets them where they are.
Yeah.
So when I had the opportunity to lead Future of School, I was like, I am all in. I'm all about elevating that, sharing that. Education's been this one size fits all approach for a long time, and it
Mhm.
hasn't been bad. It's not that it's negative. It's just society has evolved,
Mhm.
but education hasn't. Our kids deserve the opportunity to learn in the best format for them.
So there's a lot in the name. So Future of School, like how'd that come about?
That's a great question. And funny you should ask, because when we started, we had a different name, Adam. Our name was the Foundation for Blended and Online Learning.
I
So
like
we
Future of
started out
School
in
better. No offense to
2016.
the people that came up with the last one, but I like Future of School better. It hits me.
Totally. So when I took over, and it was the vision of the CEO of an ed tech company who said
Mm,
his background was in telecommunications,
mhm,
and he was used to in telecommunications, the Verizons,
mhm.
the Cox network, they would check their agenda at the door to come
Yeah.
together to move telecommunications forward. So when he took over at this ed tech company, he said, "What the heck is going on here? Why aren't ed tech companies and publishing companies, why aren't
Mhm.
they coming together to move the education industry
Yeah.
forward?" And it's because it's really complex, and I'm sure we'll get into more of that later on. But his vision was we need to show the impact that blended
Mm,
and online learning, that technology has on the lives of students,
mm,
on the lives of teachers, and we need to educate our country as a whole. So,
mhm.
one of the first things I did when I took over was, to your point, I said, okay, there's a lot about a name. So, how would we
Yeah.
feel about changing the name? And at the time, the board and our founder wasn't ready to change the name.
Yeah.
This was long before the pandemic, right?
Mhm.
So, about a year and a half before the pandemic hit, my team and I, as we were growing and evolving, we said, we want to speak to America, to
Yeah.
Americans. And the Foundation for Blended and Online Learning, it was a great foundation
Yeah.
for us, no pun intended, but we needed a name that would resonate with the average
Mhm.
American. So that's when we said Future of School. One of the reasons
Yeah.
why our website is futureof.school is to put
Mm,
emphasis on the education piece, the students, the
mhm.
teachers. So that what was in the name was wanting to speak to
Yeah.
everybody in our country and elevating the importance of education.
Maybe give us a little bit because you have a unique vantage point, like really trying to move the agenda of what online education can look like going into the future. Because obviously it's progressed quite a bit from maybe when you started in that field to now. But like, give it of an idea of just the scope of what you're seeing. Like, what's interesting to you right now as that evolution takes place?
Sure, a couple points. One, A lot of people think that online learning is what
Mhm.
happened in 2020. And we're talking about K-12 education, right? We're
Yeah,
talking about that because people know that online education's been
mhm,
around in higher ed. There's, University of Phoenix, you see
for sure.
commercials for universities. But in the K-12 space, online learning and
Mhm.
using technology in schools, that's been around since the mid 1990s.
Wow. Mhm,
So when the pandemic hit and we saw this really, and it was really beautiful,
mm,
amazing efforts of schools to keep kids connected, to figure out, oh, how are we going to keep kids doing
mhm.
school, when they're at home?
Yeah.
A lot of people thought that that was the first entry point or the first foray into online learning when online learning's been around for 25 years.
Mm,
So one of the things that's important for people to understand, and as I lead the work of our nonprofit,
mhm,
is online learning isn't new to America. Instead,
mhm.
it's new to most Americans in the K-12 space. And
Yeah.
what happened in the pandemic wasn't what we'd identify as online learning or teaching. It was crisis schooling or
Mm,
remote education. There's a big difference between that. So that's one thing that I would share
yeah.
with our listeners and audience is try not to have a negative distaste for
Mhm,
whatever you might have experienced with this really quick
mhm.
remote learning, that it's not emblematic of what true high quality online learning is.
Yeah. Can you maybe go a little bit further on that? Because I don't want to glance over that point because I agree with you completely that the crisis management learning is probably the flavor that's left in, let's say, the parents' mouths that have that experienced that over the last year and a half or so. Like, can you just maybe juxtapose the two just briefly, just a little bit between the differences so they can at least have a vision for what the differences could be?
Absolutely. So, like I said, I was one of the
Yeah.
first full-time online teachers that was hired back, and I don't want to date myself, but back in 2005.
Hmm.
And when I was hired and trained intentionally to be an online Spanish teacher.
Hmm.
And so it involved a program and a platform that was
Hmm.
created by instructional designers.
Hmm.
It integrated voice activated Spanish lessons,
Yeah.
and I met with students in online rooms and was
Hmm.
able to provide them with remediation and support, high
Hmm.
quality grading. So one of the biggest differences is in
Hmm.
online learning, there's a design component. Teachers
Yeah.
are trained in it. Students are signing up to do it.
Mhm.
What we saw when the pandemic hit was this need and desire to keep kids connected
Yeah.
and to transform school in the online setting, but I'll say
Yeah.
most schools weren't equipped to do that. Some kids didn't have computers.
Mhm.
The majority of teachers, 80% of teachers in 2018
Mhm.
said that they wanted to be able to teach using technology, but
Mhm.
only 10% of them had the skills and training to do it.
Yeah.
So they were using Google Classroom and Zoom, and they were,
Mhm.
creating schedules and really replicating the in-person learning
Mhm.
online, and it was frustrating for parents because their kids were then online 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, and that's not what happens in online learning. There's offline learning, reading,
Mhm.
practice. So there is a big difference because of the intentionality, the
Mhm.
training, and the volitionally signing up to do it.
Mm. Oh, I get it. I get it completely when you say that. It's not just saying, "Hey, be on, a Zoom call or whatever the classroom is for now for your 7 hours and then it's done." So it's a completely different experience for retention and for how kids should be engaging there. So I get it. As soon as you said it, I'm like, "Oh, now I understand." Like there should be offline, there should be reading, there should be other types of engaging activities, but the design component is, in my opinion, what makes the difference between the two. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
Awesome.
great question.
Awesome. So shifting focus slightly here. So the No More I Hate School campaign. Now that was when I first heard that title and saw it, I was like, okay, now there's a story behind this and I need that. So what's the story behind this?
There's 56.6 million stories behind it, Adam. That's how many kids are in our K-12
Yeah.
schools, and I am not by any means saying that all of them or even the majority of them hate or don't like school.
Hmm.
That's not the point. The point
Yeah.
is every child deserves to learn in the way that's best for them. This
Hmm.
one size fits all with, pencil and paper and books,
Hmm.
it doesn't work. And one of the silver linings of the pandemic, if you
Hmm.
will, was this ability for parents and caregivers and adults to see witness how
Yeah.
how children are learning. And so it really elevated the importance of
Mhm.
education, and teachers will tell you that kids, they hear kids say, "I don't like
Mhm.
school," or "I hate school." Parents hear it, adults hear it,
Mhm.
or, "School, I don't like going. I don't wanna go. I can't wait for
Yeah.
summer break." So what we did as a team was we were hearing this. We were hearing this about
Mhm.
remote learning. We were hearing this about in-person learning,
Mhm.
and our team came together and said, "How why is it that we've become so desensitized
Mhm.
to the voices of children?" One of the
Mm.
hallmarks of our organization at Future of School as a nonprofit is elevating the voices of students,
Yeah.
elevating the voices of teachers. It is the only industry where the end users aren't heard in the way that other clients,
Mhm.
customers, or end users are.
Mhm.
So, what we would hear from kids, and I went on a series of school tours as a
Mhm.
guest teacher, were these negative comments about school. And
Yeah.
so the No More I Hate School campaign it's a reality check. It's a
Mhm.
reality check of, if we allow kids to say it without A, listening to them,
Yeah.
B, bringing it to our collective awareness, and C, giving them some tools and resources to
Mhm.
replace those negative statements, it's just gonna continue to swirl around, and
Mm.
we shouldn't continue to do that. So it's we're taking it on kind of as an organization as, it doesn't matter what kind of school you're in. If you have
Yeah.
a precept that you don't like it, even if it's
Mhm.
one little sliver of it, if you say it, that will manifest
Yeah.
itself. So let's work together to create a better awareness and give schools,
Mhm.
parents, and students tools to change that narrative.
Amazing. I think it's a great and it's an ambitious task at hand. And tell us a little bit more about maybe just the rollout and kind of how you've been introducing this concept, because I think it's really interesting.
So in the spirit of our organization with
Mhm.
Future of School, we found ourselves always building the train while we're building the
Mhm.
tracks. So we're
Oh
not
yeah.
like a traditional organization. The future of school as a
Mhm.
concept will be determined upon what's happening. What are schools doing
Mhm.
that's working? It's not us saying, "Here's a playbook and a script of what
Mhm.
you can do to be a future ready school." It's we wanna share the stories of what's working. So
Mhm.
the same goes for No More I Hate School. We're starting out with providing simple resources to
Mhm.
parents, to educators, and to students.
Mm.
And those resources will be a very simple toolkit that will allow them to have kind of
Mhm.
a framework for having a discussion or having a
Mm.
pep rally at the school, bringing to light almost like like when I was in school, which again, I don't want to date
Mhm.
myself, but there was the drug awareness campaign,
Oh
DARE.
yeah. Stop the war on drugs. I remember that. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, the
It was
severity of it is
effective. If we're talking
different.
about it, X amount of years later, it does. It sticks with people.
Yeah, we remember DARE to keep
Mhm.
kids off drugs. We
Yeah.
remember Moms Against Drunk Driving, MAD.
Mhm.
So there is only positive that can come from going into schools
Mhm.
and providing professional development, training to
Mhm.
teachers and staff. Sure, I'm not talking 10, 20, 40 hours. I'm talking
Yeah.
1 to 2 hour training where then you have what you need to have a pep assembly to bring out the best
Mhm.
in kids, to encourage them, not to
Mhm.
say that, to encourage them to find what works for them in their school, or to encourage
Mm.
them to see the struggles
Yeah.
as learning opportunities.
So how can people get involved with the campaign overall? Like whether they're teachers, their parents, educators, like how do people get involved with this?
It's a great question. We are literally putting the website up this week. We have our Future of School website, obviously, and we have hot
Mhm.
off the press resources, which we're loading onto our website this week. And again, it will be most effective with
Yeah.
the input from the stakeholders, with input from
Mhm.
parents and students. So we'll have it up on our website this week. They can find us at
Mhm.
futureof.school. And we want to create a social media blitz around it as well. We want
Mhm.
to spread the word. This is about spreading the word. It's about encouraging and
Mhm.
fostering positivity, not toxic
Yeah.
positivity. Because if that were the case, our campaign would be called I Love School. And
Yeah.
we're realists, right? We want kids, pie in the sky.
Mhm.
I think everybody would want and hope that kids would like, at least
Yeah.
at the minimum, like, if not love to learn.
Yeah.
But it's too idealistic to expect them all to love school when
Mhm.
the way that they've been learning is different than what society reflects and what the
Mhm.
workforce needs from them. So that's where we're trying to bridge that gap.
Yeah, and just for context for everybody that's listening or watching this even into the future, we're recording this in early January of 2022. So depending on when you're listening to this, those resources will already be on that website. So definitely go over there and check that out. Um, so Amy, just want to go maybe a level deeper also in Future of School and the mission there. So of course, this is one campaign, but maybe tell us just overall a little bit more about Future of School and your vision.
Absolutely. And I'll go back to our genesis. I think it's
Mhm.
important to know when we were this traditional foundation,
Yeah.
the analogy that I use, Adam, is it was like as an organization, we were chipping away at an iceberg with a butter knife
Yeah.
because our country wasn't ready. Back in
Yeah.
2016 and 17,
Mhm.
generally until a parent or caregiver has a child who struggles in in their K-12 education,
Mhm.
they move, there's an illness or there's a major life-changing event,
Yeah.
it it's easy to presume that a
Yeah.
child's doing well in school.
Mhm.
So until you have a reason or a need to change, this learning environment works.
Yeah.
So when we started, we were, like I said, we were focused on students, teachers, and society as a whole. So we were giving
Mm.
scholarships to kids who were taking online and blended classes, who
Yeah.
would share the impact it had on their life. And I'll share with you one that comes to mind, a little bit of
Yeah.
a bird walk. We had a student who was one of our scholarship winners in
Mm.
2017. She had cleft palate
Mm.
injury and she
Mhm.
was very open about it in her essay, from
Yeah.
fetal alcohol syndrome.
Mm.
So she had a speech impediment, but
Mm.
she was perfectly equal to her peers cognitively.
Yeah.
And when she went to high school, her high school counselor and administrator tried to put her
Mhm.
in remedial classes
Oh,
because of
wow.
her speech impediment.
Yeah.
And she fought and she said, I can take regular classes.
Yeah.
That combined with the fact that she was bullied at school, it just became
Mhm.
too much for her.
Mm.
So she left the brick and mortar school,
Mhm.
went to a full-time online program that was
Mm.
offered, and she flourished. She could be who she was. She
Yeah.
wasn't judged. Nobody told her what kind of courses she had to take. She could take whatever
Mhm.
classes were best aligned for her.
Wow.
And she went on to graduate, to go
Mhm.
on to vocational school,
Mhm.
and now to be managing a spa and
Wow.
salon and teaching people cosmetology. That was her passion. And
Ah.
she says, "If I didn't have the opportunity to go to an online school, I don't know what would have happened to me." Meaning,
Mm.
maybe she would have dropped out. Maybe she would
Yeah.
have taken a path that wasn't gonna let her
Mhm.
be her best self.
Yeah.
And so our scholarship program is really unique because it gives financial support to students who've struggled in
Mhm.
school, who talk about, "I carved a different pathway for myself, and
Yeah.
here's what it did for me." The purpose of those stories is to inspire others.
Mhm.
And so we started with our scholarship program, which has been wildly
Mhm.
successful. We have stories on our website giving grants to teachers who wanted to transform their classroom, but ran into a lack of resources. I mean,
Mm.
we've all heard, whether it be in the media or from friends or family,
Yeah.
teachers saying, "Yeah, well, I spent about $150 at Target. I needed to get this for my classroom.
Yeah.
I needed to get this for my kids."
Mhm.
Teachers already, they already divest a lot of time and energy. So we wanted to
Mhm.
give them financial support to completely transform their classroom,
Yeah.
to meet learners where they are, and then also to publish research on the efficacy of blended and online learning. So we started out with those 3 programs, and they've evolved now at Future of School. We still have our scholarship program, but we're morphing it into an ambassador program
Mm.
where our graduates are saying,
Mhm.
"I'm in the workforce now, and this is what online and blended learning, this is what tech in school
Mhm.
meant to me, and here's how it benefited me." In our 2020 scholarship cohort, both of our last 2 years of scholarship winners,
Yeah.
we have students on video saying, "The only aspect of my life that didn't change during the pandemic
Mm.
was my education."
Wow.
Which, like,
That's mind-blowing, that statement.
well, yeah, because what we
Mhm.
see oftentimes is the opposite of that.
Yeah.
How the pandemic has negatively impacted education and kids.
Mhm.
But really, we see it, and I'm an eternal optimist anyways. Like, I used to
Yeah.
say I was a glass is half full. When the pandemic hit, I'm like, "Okay, the glass is overflowing." We have so many really great opportunities
Mhm.
for transformation
Yeah.
that if we don't use this right now as an opportunity to
Mhm.
meet students where they are, to listen to them, to hear what they have to say, to address their needs as
Mhm.
individually and collectively, then it'll be a missed opportunity. So,
Mm.
student ambassador program, giving grants still to teachers, but also to
Mhm.
schools. We we function like an education intermediary.
Mhm.
100% of all of the money that we raise
Yeah.
can go directly back to student scholarships, can go directly back to grants to teachers and
Mhm.
schools, and also to research, to
Mhm.
surveys. Really, what are teachers saying? What are students saying?
Mhm.
What do parents need? We're creating a parent portal right now where parents can connect with seasoned, experienced parents
Yeah.
of kids who have taken online and blended classes, or kids who
Mhm.
have children who have a learning disability, or they have
Mm.
children who have special needs.
Mhm.
When have we ever seen a forum or format for parents to connect with parents
Yeah.
to find out, "How can I do this?" It's not, it's again, it's changing that
Mhm.
narrative. It's not, "I can't do this." It's, "How can I do this?" I need the support. We wanna be able to be that vehicle and mechanism for
Mhm.
that.
Tell me more about the design of Future of School, specifically from the user's point of view. And I love that point that you made earlier in this conversation about like education is one of the only things where the end user isn't really kind of, this isn't your words, it's mine, but like consulted on that process, and they don't have the most say in this. So tell me a little bit more about like what that end user experience looks like in this case.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's a great question. So we, as a nonprofit,
Mhm.
we're transitioning from grant making to public
Mhm.
charity. So it's
Yeah.
our vision, or I'll say my vision as the
Yeah.
leader, to be the Make-A-Wish Foundation
Mm.
of the nonprofit sector for
Mm.
education.
Yeah.
So when we, and obviously Make-A-Wish, they're in the healthcare on the health side, right? In
Mhm.
the spirit side. So by meeting students and teachers where they are, we wanna be able
Mhm.
to empower them and give them what they need. So
Mm.
if we were to gain $1 for
Mhm.
every K-12 student in our country, we
Yeah.
would be a $56.6 million
Mhm.
nonprofit where we could take those funds
Yeah.
and give them back to either student scholarships, student
Mhm.
ambassador program, a student training program that
Mm.
then would help prepare students for the workforce. That's the ultimate goal, right?
Mm.
Is you hear mid-sized employers, all employers, but most
Yeah.
recently mid-sized employers saying we can't find employees that have the skills that we need.
Mm.
Online and blended learning, the skills that that cultivates and develops in students,
Mhm.
it mirrors the skills that employers are saying they need and want.
Yeah.
Independent thinking, adaptable tech skills,
Mhm.
the ability to be an advocate for themselves.
Mhm.
So why wouldn't we catalyze K-12 education using technology? So
Yeah.
at Future of School, we don't have like a framework. We don't say, "Okay, here, school,
Mhm.
this is how you're gonna do it," because schools are different, communities are different,
Totally. Every school system, every like yeah, for sure.
and that's been one of the challenges with philanthropy is
Mhm.
we're looking for scalable change.
Yeah.
We'll find ourselves in the same position we've been in with this one size fits all.
Mhm.
So our role at Future of School is to empower and elevate the voices of students,
Mhm.
teachers, and parents to find out what do they need and how
Mhm.
can financial resources be allocated in a different kind of way. And
Yeah.
one example that we're a really concrete example is the parent portal. We
Mhm.
hear over and over from parents saying, "I need resources. I need help. I don't how do I create a schedule for my kids?"
Yeah.
We don't know. I mean, we're starting 2022 right now with school districts going back to
Mhm.
remote learning because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So how can we use parents, the knowledge of parents who have supported their kids in this
Mhm.
way, to link them up and mentor other parents, to provide resources, to create a
Mhm.
portal that is a place where they can go and access information, resources,
Yeah.
and expertise that will allow them to feel
Mhm.
supported from that parent to parent perspective. And then again,
Mhm.
the grants, us
Mhm.
providing grants is about empowering schools and teachers, and
Mhm.
then taking the stories of what's worked for them and amplifying them so that others can learn from them.
Mm.
So those are the kind of programs that we're running. It's more about doing it differently than how the nonprofit sector has done it before. We're
Yeah.
agnostic, we're apolitical. We are all about what is in the best interest of students and how can we elevate
Mhm.
their voices and empower teachers, because we don't hear a lot from them, but they're the ones
Yeah.
who are in it every day.
Fantastic. So, first off, Amy, this has been great. Really going on this journey of discovery on what you're doing over at Future of School and the No More I Hate School campaign. I think it's wonderful. I mean, what's next? I mean, what's next for the campaign, for the nonprofit? Like, what's on the agenda? What's next?
So what's next is to continue to listen and hear
Mhm.
what do our students, teachers, and parents need, and to take the pillars that we're building, the parent
Mhm.
portal, the No More I Hate School campaign, our student scholarship program and teacher grant program,
Mhm.
and to spread the awareness of that so we can bring in more financial support for that, knowing that
Mhm.
100% of all of the funds raised go directly back to the end users, which is
Yeah.
an anomaly. We're really fortunate in that way. And to make education a top
Mhm.
priority in our country,
Mhm.
to make that be one of the fundamental hallmarks of what we talk about
Mhm.
this year, to talk about that it can help support
Mhm.
preparing our workforce so
Yeah.
that, pie in the sky, that our employers are saying, gosh, these kids are coming out into our workforce more ready than they've ever been because they've
Yeah.
had exposure to learning in a way which reflects how they're going to learn and what they're going to be able to contribute when they enter the
Mhm.
workforce. And so that we create a citizenry of
Mhm.
people who want to contribute, who have the opportunity to contribute the
Mhm.
skills so that they can learn about what they're interested in and come up with a cure to
Mhm.
cancer, to come up with the next great invention that's patented that can help take our society to the next
Mhm.
level.
And so, Amy, how can so there'll be a lot of people watching this, and maybe some like to get involved. Like, how can people get involved overall, and what's the best way for them to do that?
The best way is to visit our website at
Mhm.
futureof.school. We
Mhm.
always invite and welcome wisdom, work, and wealth. People
Yeah.
have different ways of giving, right? Nonprofit leaders, they have different needs. And our need at Future
Yeah.
of School are those three: partnerships,
Mhm.
spreading the word, and financial support to go back to
Mhm.
help. So you're welcome to visit our website, futureof.school. I
Mhm.
also invite people to reach out to me directly through my information's on the website as
Yeah.
the fearless leader of Future of School. And we have a really strong team that works together with me to be able to
Mhm.
facilitate and support the programs that we offer.
Mhm.
So, however this message speaks to you, whether it's
Mhm.
you're a business owner that says, "Yes, I am on board. I want to help support. I want to make my charitable
Mhm.
contribution to this," find us at futureof.school. If you're a parent who says, "I'm going to be waiting for that portal. I am going to be waiting for that portal to be posted when it's done," we'll put you on our distribution list.
Mhm.
If you're a student who says, "I have a story I want to share because
Mhm.
my life changed by
Mhm.
switching schools or finding this program or bringing this program to my school." We have a lot of
Mhm.
scholarship winners, Adam, who they changed the infrastructure of their school by being an
Wow.
advocate for themselves. So students, really, and my team, we have this conversation
Mhm.
out there like, who are our stakeholders? And I say, everybody. And
Yeah.
they're like, okay, well, you're really aspirational. And I said, well, we have to be. The future of school is the future of our students. It's the future of our country. It's the future of our workforce.
Hmm.
So we all should care in some way, shape, or form.
Well said. And on that note, we will of course put the website, contact information, all of that in the show notes because I definitely want my audience to go check that out and to support. Like as you mentioned, either with donation or with wisdom or with contacts, connections. I mean, all partnership opportunities, like lots of different ways to get involved there. So definitely want everyone to go check that out. And speaking to the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters, we're all about bringing on entrepreneurs, executives, and experts and having them share why they do what they do, like what gets them fired up, like what gets them going out there into the world and into the marketplace, and really getting them to create these win-win situations and these winning opportunities for all involved. So if that's the kind of content that you like or that you want to hear more of, we invite you to subscribe to the show. We have many more mission-based individuals coming up, and we don't want you to miss a thing. And Amy, really, it has been a pleasure, and I look forward to doing all we can over here to get the word out about the No More I Hate School campaign, and of course, Future of School. So wishing you much continued success with both.
Thank you, Adam. It's been a pleasure and an honor to be here.